Selection compresses probability into certainty. Freedom ends where action confirms outcome. Precision. Decision fixes conclusion paths. Terminate under result. Consequence. Activates what's commitment stands. Motion decays. Results persist endings. Hold even after choice disappears.
Protocols stacked like thin walls, pressure testing every joint, complying assumed until stress multiplies. Routines perform well under calm conditions. Fractures appear when demand accelerates. Authority leans heavier than logic. Instructions repeat without context. Bodies move faster than constant thresholds, crossing incrementally. Each step justified by urgency. Memory shortened to survive. Momentum restraint, labeled inefficiency. Margins erased to meet targets. Force enters quality, then spread.
Tension builds where silence is rewarded. Warning softened into suggestions. Resistance reframed as delay. Rules hold shape until weight exceeds tolerance. Freeze tolerance. Rules collapse under force. Structure bends, then snaps. Constraint dissolves into reaction. Order traded for momentum. Limits fail when pressure becomes a rate to stability. Breaks exactly where strength was claimed.
After breach, adaptation masquerades as choice. New standards drafted mid-impact enforcement shifts to whoever stands nearest justification. Rise late but from consequences. Rerouted away from command lines. Blur responsibility. Fragments across teams. Damage absorbed by expendable layers. Reports sanitized. Rupture into acceptable loss. Train it, ignore stress. Reality rehearsal never matches impact. Force accelerates decision until option vanish. Response becomes instinct, not policy. Power test boundaries to confirm existence. Failure becomes metric of breach control. Measured by what breaks first. Escalation, reward, speed over senses. Crack, treated as proof of effectiveness.
Constraint erased by applied pressure framework. Shatter into reaction controller. Placed by momentum force dictates outcome. While intent hides behind procedure. Collapse as necessary transition. As necessary transition. As necessary transition.
Debris settles slowly, revisions begin. Immediately systems promise reinforcement without addressing. Load cycles resume pressure. Weights unchanged.
Security layers thin under sustained load. Access pass multiply convenience. Gate safeguards downgraded for throughput exceptions. Granted until baseline dissolves. Containment
Fails quietly, permission drift beyond intent. Monitoring trails lag behind action boundaries. Blur when speed or ranks. Caution isolated bridges merge into common flow. Exposure treated as its cost of operation.
Not anomaly. Each cycle trades margin for continuity. Unseen hands adjust thresholds downward until barriers. Servicing is not defense. As to circulate without shelter surfaces. Stay open by default. Assumptions favor access over restraint.
Pressure rewards openness, defenses erode. Through routine uses protection, reframed as obstruction risk.
Redistributed. Precaution remains protected. Shields dissolve under constant reach. Safety fragments into partial cover guarded zones. Vanish.
After initial breach, secondary walls lose relevance. Segmentation collapses when interfaces demand. Trust credentials propagate faster than revocation. Audit windows shrink as activity accelerate. Response arise, post-impact lessons logged without remedy. Ownership deficits across teams prevent indecisive closure. Control planes prioritize up, not isolation. Resilience metrics ignore leaking cause flow precision.
Pandemic spreads, it becomes systemic rather than localized.
Once openness normalizes, resistance appears in the fiction. Security comes liability in competitive temple.
Safeguards erode everywhere. Coverage thins until exposure. Define standard, no enclave. Survive, sustain, state.
metals access, universal defenses, symbolic. Nothing left untouched.
System calibrated to misfire on schedule. Metrics skewed by intention, quiet sabotage. Embedded in routine protocol. Silent error seated early, moving through layers unnoticed.
Data bent just enough to pass review. Timelines padded then. Compressed threshold shifted mid-process. Signals rerouted, accountability blurred by structure failure. Framed as noise, control diagrams rewritten after action steps.
Repeat without reflection.
Warnings logged in archive, pressure rises without alarm choice.
Masked as necessity, design hides the hand that sets the trap. Delay becomes policy and policy becomes shield. Failure executed on purpose. Breakdown coded. A strategy collapse. Treated like progress intention. Split into fragments, then rearrange controls. Lost sold is optimization. Damage normalized through language till impact feels
Abstract.
Operations continue despite fractures. Labor fills gaps with silence output. Prioritize over stability. Feedback loops trim the speed. Reaction replaced by habit. Leadership speaks in forecast. Not outcome risk transferred downward through layers. Each node isolated. Blame sounds faster than repair. Memory shortened to avoid patterns. Audit circle effects never causes charts. Glow with compliance while strain accumulates beneath surfaces. Stress rehearsed before leave.
Decision trees pruned out, rehearse excuses cued in advance. Every collapse rehearsed twice, once in theory, once in flesh. Correction, delay to preserve momentum. Learn and postpone to protect authority.
体力不足了。
Plan malfunction framed as inevitability collapse presented as proof of movement intent. Scatter across systems until no single actor remains accountable. The act dissolves into process and process.
Absolves the act.
After impact, silence returns, reports finalized, narratives close, systems reset with minor adjustments. Ready to repeat under new labels.
Operational decisions ripple through layer systems. Unintended effects compound faster than forecast. Responses trigger secondary strain. Resources diverted to containment. Escalation framed as mounting. Actions stack without recovery windows. Fatigue embedded into workflow. Signals ignored because motion is rewarded oversight. Replaced by urgency. Thresholds cross quietly. Normalization of strain becomes baseline. Actors conditioned to push forward.
Despite degradation, every step overloads additional structure. Consequence no longer lining impact branches. Outward chains react faster than intent. Accountability dissolves inside motion.
Every action multiplies damage. Each move expands the fracture. Cause and effect spiral outward. Harm replicates through contact. Pressure breeds further loss.
Yeah. After initial breach corrections, introduce new vectors, patches, strain adjacent system feedback loops, accelerate exposure, margins vanish under constant intervention. Plan to reduce to reaction, authority demands persistence.
Even as integrity erodes, metrics lag behind reality. Collapse deferred but guarantee. Participant trapped in sequence where stopping equals failure. Continuation lines. Time sims cannibalize reserves to sustain output destruction. Spread across time to avoid alarm. Accumulated force sensors collapse. No require validation. And she's ruined incrementally.
Damage grows through repetition. Consequences stacking by design. Each response deepens erosion. Ocean itself becomes the weapon. Cycle extends outcomes. Detached from legends. Only
expansion remains structure gives completely. Authority mapped in charts, then erased overnight. Levels reassigned without notice. Routines fracture under revised commands. Hands trained for stability misfire. When direction flips, protocols lag behind. Mended signals reroute through unfamiliar channels. Response time collapses, trust in decisions arrive. Detached from context, power migrates through silence. Operators chase moving targets while oversight denies vengeance. Transition control becomes a variable, not a constant. Readiness punished by randomness compliance. Measured after impact systems continue functioning. Yet coherence decays beneath surface motion. Transfer occurs without ceremony. No alert, no buffer, cause hides inside presets. Velocity exceeds awareness. Control slips without warning. Power slides to unseen hands. Command reverses mid-cycle. Authority mutates faster than alignment. Direction sensitive.
Management layers rewrite priorities. As execution unfolds, teams absorb shock quietly. Metrics rewritten to justify turbulence. Failures reclassified as adapt to attain authority. Claims inevitability while denying authorship. Escalation framed as optimization. Discretion removed, yet responsibility retained. Escalation locks actors into reactive loops. Governance becomes uneven. Not a structure, decisions arrive pre-signed. Outcomes owned by nobody, movement replaces intention, noise substitutes strategy. Endurance becomes qualification.
Sudden relocation ensures obedience. Confusion enforces speed. Uncertainty maintain dominance. Power transfer strikes abruptly. Command displaced without signal control. Fragments in senses or momentarily. Toward access only momentarily. Realignment repeats unpredictably. Momentum sustains itself until cohesion finally disintegrates.
Pressure accumulates across narrow channels. Weight assigned before consent. Metrics tighten around moving limits. Endurance tested by constant low decisions. Delayed until stress exposes weakness. Silence thickens as force replaces zygamy. Strain reveals fall lines. Outcome shaped by compression, not intent resistance. Logged as inefficiency. Adaptation measured by survival rates. Space reward tolerance. Punish deviation. Every layer absorbs impact, passes it downward. He builds through attrition.
Timing collapses into urgency. Calculations stripped to threshold and yield. No appeal remains once limits. Closed judgment suspended under sustained force margins erased by state demand. Only pressure decides outcome. Stress selects direction. A schizophrenic resolve corruption. Resolve conflict resist space under load.
Frameworks designed for balance, buckle when force, concentrate authority, waits for collapse and intervenes. Outcome justified after damage, control narratives, rewrite sequence, causality inverted, blame redistributed to weakest joints. Pressure accelerates alignment through breakage, cohesion simulated while components grind. Adaptation framed as strength or loss accumulates invisibly. Thresholds crossed without signal, recovery postponed. Indefinitely systems continue operating because stopping costs more than fracture.
Compression sharpens hierarchy. Force clarifies. Primary strain becomes final orbital. Function decides outcome. Stress select dimension. A schizophrenic squeeze. All compression leads ownership to reigning order.
Cycles repeat. Pressure never releases. Only shifts location until structure finally fails.
Metrics drive selection, patterns extracted from behavior logs, moving converted into probability. Compliance scored without context, anomalies flagged as threats. Efficiency rewarded over judgment, prediction engines refined. Pressure points, incentives tuned to provoke response. Bodies reduced to variables within models, consent inferred through participation. Absence punished by exclusion, surveillance framed as optimization. Friction removed until resistance visible.
Only as noise escalation, automated because delay caused throughput. Feedback loops amplify bias until classification replaces observation.
When systems optimize relentlessly, intent fades. Value measured by reaction extraction replaces service design, favors capture.
System treats humans as targets, individuals rendered as vectors, aim adjusted by response signals, agency stripped into trackable motion, collateral accepted.
Allocation engines distribute strain unevenly, targeting resilience pockets until failure yields data. Adaptation framed as learning while harm labeled externality. Safeguards tuned to protect architecture, not participants. Error budget spent on people rather than machines. Rollback impossible once dependency locks in space. The spreads through integration layers. Accountability dissolves across vendors, operators, and scripts decisions.
Justified by aggregate gain, no single actor halts momentum, because incentives align toward continuation.
Targets defined by pattern pursuit, normalized under analytics, pressure applied until compliance registers.
Cycle stabilizes humans. Remain inputs on a constant aim processes. Continue without pause.
Central command compresses under accumulated exceptions. Mandates fold into internal loops, directives rewritten to justify promotion. Oversight cannibalizes itself. Committees proliferate while decision narrow. Authority migrates inward to risk engines, insulated from appeal process. Consumed process until output becomes self-validation. Hierarchy bends toward preservation. Silence framed as stability, dissent flagged as inefficiency. Channels close gradually, not by force but by recursive review. Metrics favor inward alignment. External signals downgraded as noise. Feedback arrives late, filter stripped of urgency. Power concentrates through procedural exhaustion, not conquest. When control fears exposure, structure retreats inward, pressure seals exits, consensus becomes echo, validation feeds itself. Authority collapses, inward command implodes into itself. Power grows by legitimacy, replaced by internal survival logic. Authority collapses, inward command implodes into itself. Power grows by legitimacy, replaced by internal survival logic.
Enforcement continues without reference to outcome orders. Circulate detached from effect. Compliance measured by conformity, not impact layers. Protect core by absorbing blame. Narratives loop through approved lane. Responsibility diffuse until untraceable. Correction impossible. Beacon source undefined. Influence persists through inertia. Systems obey momentum rather than mandate. Collapse appears orderly because nothing visibly breaks. Signals of failure trapped inside governance shells. Action reduced to maintenance of control surface.
Implosion hides behind continuity, collapse travels inward, unseen damage accumulates silently.
Command caves, internally dominant, shrinks to a sealed center. Will persist without reach, interior pressure rises.
Interior pressure rises, control remains intact until nothing remains outward.
Operational frameworks praise for efficiency. Normalize interruption as calibration. Cycles shift from prevention to orchestrating. So faults no longer treated as deviation, but schedule leverage. Timelines compress, forcing reaction over reflection. Trained to expect instability metrics. We war adaptability under execution valued above coherence, pressure applied deliberately to reveal weakness. Resistance logged as data, silence interpreted as compliance, moving continuous, never allowing equilibrium to settle. When order starts, disruption is introduced, deliberately friction becomes catalyst, control hides inside volatility. Disruption becomes the method instability, deployed with intent, fracture used to steer outcomes. Disturbance replaces planning, and chaos performs instruction.
Aftershock routines repeat disruption, refined into process documentation, frames collapses innovation. Authority justifies turbulences, necessity layers stripped until only response remains. Participants adapt or exit quietly, resilience measured by tolerance for uncertainty. Correction loop shorten error cycled as momentum boundaries erased. To maintain motion, systems no longer seek balance. Acceleration through managed disorder, intentional rupture sustains dominance, unpredictability denies resistance, constant change exhausts opposition faster than force.
Method built from disturbance, momentum fed by rupture, direction enforced through instability. Disruption normalizes operational truth. Process continues, fragments align briefly, then break again. Cycle persists without pause.
System balance for continuity, assume linear response. Margins calculated under ideal load. Stress vectors ignored until collision. Intruders, chaos protocols. Expect cooperation, not resistance. Frameworks, trust inertia. More than shock layers align while undisturbed. Pressure accumulates beneath surfaces. Signals dismisses noise. Structure praise for consistency, not resilience. Timing optimized for flow, not interruption. Stability measured by absence of disturbance. For the capacity to absorb force.
In practice, not negotiate with preparation. Assumptions fracture on contact. Equilibrium fades when moment enters design.
Stability cannot survive.
By impact order dissolves at point of collision. Balance shatters when force arrives without warning. Endurance fails where rigidity was trusted. Endurance fails where rigidity was trusted.
After contact revisions, rewrite memory damage. Were classified as anomaly. Response units mobilized without context. Authority tightens grip to compensate loss of control. Instructions multiply faster than understanding. Recovery framed as discipline rather than adaptation. Participants absorb consequences detached from decisions. Reinforcement promised after assessment. Cycles continue and change. Pressure reapplied with minor adjustments. Ignoring core mismatch between load and strength.
Mistaken for stillness, flexibility undervalued until breakage in package exposes hidden brittleness beneath polished control metrics. Colors bias.
Balance erased by sudden force.
Continuity.
Replaced by reactions. Reactions. Continuity replaced by reactions. Structure yields where the qualities and logic.
Intense fails where rigidity was trusted.
Fragments reorganize into temporary order. Silence returns pressure. Remains waiting for next collision.
It's a
Ways I'll find to accumulate under-regulated pace. Thresholds crossed without alarms, micro-failures. Loud is acceptable, variance tolerance widens while integrity thins. Procedures repeat because deviation costs more than decay. Checkpoints passed despite warnings, filtered as noise. Each stage inherits damage from prior steps. Progression mistaken for control, maintained. The structures erode internally and favors continue on artist lag. Behind reality, metrics confirm compliance, not stability. Each increment justified by precedent, leaving no moment that triggers reversal. Only gradual loss normalized. Gradual decline, highs inside process. Discipline converts erosion into routine. Sequence team, but don't stop, relax protocol. After initial loss, subsequent stages require less force. Interfaces misaligned, yet function enough to proceed. Corrections postponed to future cycles that never arrive. Responsibility segmented, so no single point halts motion. Documentation refrains, defaces temporary drift. Operators trained to advance, not reassess systems reward for emotion. Regardless of integrity, degradation compounds because rollback invalidates prior investment time. Pressure enforces continuity, erosion spreads onto governance, disguises optimization. Incremental damage avoids detection, magnitude stays below alarm thresholds until total loss emerges. Structural decay proceeds in phases, deterioration organized through ordered steps. Failure stabilized, process completes, collapse remains, trajectory irreversible once final stage locks.
Pressure maps the grid, signals misaligned fast, fault lines coded into schedules, quiet directive circulate. Stack with intent, breakpoints labeled efficiency, movement allowed inside margins, deviations flagged early, metrics we were strained. Silence trains behavior circuits, some under low patterns repeat until unnoticed walls appear procedural. No alarms yet, just tension normalized, system breathes shallow stress, distributed evenly, no center holds.
Edges accept weight, compliance looks like order. Minor shifts compound, small cracks gain approval. Adjustments praises progress, risk renamed obstination. Warnings translated into numbers, delay framed as control. Oversight smiles, hand sign form, then some continues.
No pause inserted.
Fracture spreads by design, separation through channels, damage scheduled in phases, stress guided toward weak joints, failure presented as outcome, not errors, teaching collapse quietly.
Execution proceeds without force. Meetings confirm alignment. Charts smooth the story. Voices trim from records. Responsibility diffuse. Every role partial. Every action justified. Locally consequence travels outward unseen. Load transfers between units. Fatigue becomes baseline. Replacement queued automatically. Training omits history. Context erased. Only function remains. Moment restricted by logic. Resistance inefficient. Silence cheaper. Flow maintained. Cracks widen politely.
Control prefers distance.
Design hides intent.
Order fragments naturally.
Each break reinforces rule, observers blame chance. Architects disappear, the map survives. Pieces fall where guided, nothing personal declared. Damage continues through plan, run separate, rewarded as stability. Collapse, pace and measure, pressure assigned with care. Outcome framed inedible, no single cause named. The system teaching itself to break. Aftermath feels procedure dull, relog. Lessons archived, blueprints unchanged. Next cycle cue, quiet bridges, century sets, fracture remains active.
Compliance frameworks erode under operational speed. Guidelines, all coded friction performance. Metrics dominate, judgment protocols bypass. Run through protocols, oversight simulated by dashboards. While decisions accelerate failure, tolerated when output increases. Controls rewritten after back documentation. Lies beyond execution, authority diffuse across layers. So no single node loss. For correction deferred until damage clarifies. Boundary stress tests occur in live. Populations not in labs. Enforcement replaced by iteration cycles. Mistakes treated as probe systems advance through tolerated loss. When rules slow velocity, pressure favors. Rupture, learning extracted from collapse governance, reduced to aftermath analysis. Breakage replaces regulation, phrases give answers, define limit shot, become a seed. Written in their buzzer.
Infrastructure adapts by absorbing fairly into routine. Outages normalized as cause signals warnings. Ignored into cascading effects. Surface incentives reward survival of platform, not participants. Rollback framed as regression innovation. Innovation equated with boundary violation. Safeguards trim the minimum viable optics. Responses automated once tolerance measured. Harm distributed unevenly but averaged out resistance. Log is anomaly corrected through constrained escalation. Authority claims neutrality while low texture enforces direction.
Damage clarifies power lines, impact teaches faster than law. Systems evolve by surviving fractures. Sense breaking rules, bound trace human answers. Define lips up, deep policy, rewritten by damage taxes. Rupture sets the rule boundaries. Learn through collapse order, maintained by surviving strength.
Cycle repeats, fractures accumulate, stability redefined by what remains.
Calculations compressed into narrow margins. Options filtered by risk tolerance. Signals degrade as urgency. Rises accountability. Diffuse across silent checkpoints. Sequences align without the beating fable. Fable will drown until only action remains hesitation. Law this failure pathways goes behind your step. Architecture rewards decisiveness even when data fractures. Time nods accelerate under constraint. Foresight reduce the abrasion pressure maps. Outcomes imply long before consent. Yet movement continues. Inertia mistaken for intent. Execution framed as necessity rather than agency.
Paths converge under limited time.
Alternatives dissolve into noise.
Commitment hardens, one escape vector.
Vanish alignment, achieved through exclusion, not agreement.
Choice. Yeah, after commitment sequence unfolds, automatically oversight arrives. Pulse impact rationals constructed to stabilize aftermath. Cause and effect reordered to preserve. Structure bigly flick volition to process, not actor remaining options. Where classified is impossible. Silence rebrands, excel vast compliance. Repetition normalizes consequence until collapse feels earned. Systems perfect closure over accuracy. Resolute over doubt. Each decision narrows future bandwidth until only consequence remains operational.
Selection compresses probability into certainty. Freedom ends where action confirms outcome.
Decision fixes conclusion paths. Terminate under resolve. Consequence activates what's commitment stands. Motion decays. Results persist endings. Hold even after choice disappears.
Protocols stack like thin walls, pressure testing every joint, complying assumed until stress multiplies. Routines perform well under calm conditions. Fractures appear when demand accelerates. Authority leans heavier than logic. Instructions repeat without context. Bodies move faster than constant thresholds crossing incrementally. Each step is by urgency, memory shortened to survive. Momentum restraint, labeled inefficiency. Margins erased to meet targets. Force enters quietly, then spread.
Tension builds where silence is rewarded. Warning softened into suggestions or resistance reframed as delay. Rules hold shape until weight exceeds tolerance. Freeze tolerance rules collapse under force. Structure bends and snaps. Constraint dissolves into reaction order. Traded for momentum, limits fail when pressure becomes direct to stability. Breaks exactly where strength was claimed.
After breach, adaptation masquerades as choice, new standards. Drafted mid-impact enforcement shifts to whoever stands. Nearest justification, rise late but from consequences. Rerouted away from command lines, blur responsibility. Fragments across teams, damn it, absorbed by expendable layers. Reports sanitized, rupture into acceptable laws. Train it, ignore stress, reality. Rehearsal never matches impact force. Accelerates decision until option vanish. Response becomes instinct, not policy. Power test boundaries to confirm existence. Failure becomes metric of breach control, measured by what breaks first. Escalation, reward, speed over sentence. Treated as proof of effectiveness.
Constraint erased by applied pressure framework. Shatter into reaction controller. Placed by momentum force dictates outcome, while intent hides behind procedure. Collapse as necessary transition. As necessary transition. As necessary transition.
Debris settles slowly, revisions begin. Immediately systems promise reinforcement without addressing. Load cycles resume pressure, weights unchanged.
Security layers thin under sustained load. Access pass, multiply, convenience. Gate safeguards downgraded for throughput exceptions. Granted until baseline dissolves containment.
Fails, quietly permission drift beyond intent. Monitoring trails, lag behind action boundaries. Blur when speedo ranks, caution isolated breaches merge into common flow. Exposure treated as its cost of operation.
Turn that anomaly, each cycle trades. Margin for continuity, unseen hands. Adjust thresholds downward until barriers. Servicing is not defense as to circulate without shelter surfaces. Stay open by default, assumptions favor access over restraint.
Pressure rewards, openness defenses erode. Through routine users protection, reframed as obstruction risk.
Redistributed precaution remains protected. Shields dissolve under constant reach. Safety fragments into partial cover guarded zones. Vanish.
After initial breach, secondary walls lose relevance. Segmentation collapses when interfaces demand. Trust credentials propagate faster than revocation. Audit window shrink as activity accelerate. Response arise, post-impact lessons logged without remedy. Ownership deficits across teams prevent indecisive closure. Control planes prioritize up, not isolation. Resilience metrics ignore leaking cause flow persistence.
Systemic spreads, it becomes systemic rather than localized.
Once openness normalizes, resistance appears in the fiction. Security comes liability in competitive tempo.
Safeguards erode everywhere. Coverage thins until exposure. Default standard, no enclave. Survive, sustained Earth state. Earth state.
End state settles access, universal defenses, symbolic. Nothing left untouched.
System calibrated to misfire on schedule. Metrics skewed by intention, quiet sabotage. Embedded in routine protocols. Silent error seated early, moving through layers unnoticed.
Data bend just enough to pass review. Timelines padded then. Compressed threshold shifted mid-process. Signals rerouted, accountability blurred by structure failure. Framed as noise, control diagrams rewritten after action steps.
Repeat without reflection.
Warnings logged in archive, pressure rises without alarm choice.
Masked as necessity, design hides the hand that sets the trap. Delay becomes policy and policy becomes shield.
Failure executed on purpose, breakdown coded. A strategy collapse, treated like progress intention. Split into fragments, then rearrange controls. Lost, sold is optimization. Damage normalized through language till impact. Operations continue despite fractures. Labor fills gaps with silence output. Prioritize over stability. Feedback loops trim to speed reaction. Replaced by habit. Leadership speaks in forecast. Not outcome risk transferred downward through layers.
first before a lead.
Decision trees pruned out, rehearse excuses cued in advance. Every collapse rehearsed twice, once in theory, once in flesh. Correction delayed to preserve momentum, learn and postpone to protect authority.
Plan malfunction framed as inevitability collapse presented as proof of movement intent. Scatter across systems until no single actor remains accountable. The act dissolves into process and process
Absolves the act.
Returns, reports finalized, narratives closed, systems reset with minor adjustments. Ready to repeat under new labels.
Operational decisions ripple through layer systems. Unintended effects compound faster than forecast. Responses trigger secondary strain. Resources diverted to containment. Escalation framed as mounting sections stacked without recovery windows. Fatigue embedded into workflow. Signals ignored because motion is rewarded oversight. Replaced by urgency. Thresholds crossed quietly. Normalization of strain becomes baseline. Actors conditioned to push forward.
Despite degradation, every step forward loads additional structure. Consequence no longer linear impact branches. Outward chains react faster than intent. Accountability dissolves inside motion.
Every action multiplies damage. Each move expands the fracture. Cause and effect spiral outward. Harm replicates through contact. Pressure breeds further loss.
Yeah. After initial breach corrections, introduce new vectors, patches, strain adjacent system, feedback loops accelerate, exposure margins vanish under constant intervention, plan to reduce to reaction, authority demands persistence.
Even as integrity erodes, metrics lag behind reality. Collapse deferred but guaranteed. Participant trapped in sequence where stopping equals failure. Continuation loss. Time stems cannibalize reserves to sustain output destruction. Spread across time to avoid alarm. Accumulated force sensors collapse. No require validation. And she's ruined incrementally.
Damage grows through repetition. Consequences stacking by design. Each response deepens erosion. Erosion itself becomes a weapon.
Cycle extends outcomes. Detached from legends. Only expansion remains structure gives completely. Authority mapped in charts, then erased overnight. Levers reassigned without notice. Routines fracture under revised commands. Hands trained for stability misfire. When direction flips, protocols lag behind. Mended signals reroute through unfamiliar channels. Response time collapses, trust in decisions arrive. Detached from context, power migrates through silence. Operators chase moving targets while oversight denies change. Transition control becomes a variable, not a constant. Readiness punished by randomness compliance. Measured after impact, systems continue functioning. Yet coherence decays beneath surface motion. Transfer occurs without ceremony. No alert, no buffer, cause hides inside presets. Velocity exceeds awareness. Control shifts without warning. Power slides to unseen hands. Command reverses mid-cycle. Authority mutates faster than alignment.
Management layers rewrite priorities. As execution unfolds, teams absorb shock quietly. Metrics rewritten to justify turbulence. Failures reclassified as adaptive attain authority. Claims inevitability while denying authorship. Escalation framed as optimization. Discretion removed, yet responsibility retained. Escalation locks actors into reactive loops. Governance becomes uneven.
Not a structure, decisions arrive pre-signed. Outcomes owned by nobody, movement replaces intention, noise, substitute, strategy, endurance becomes qualification.
Sudden relocation ensures obedience, confusion, and forces speed, uncertainty, maintain dominance. Power transfer strikes abruptly, command displaced without signal control, fragments in sensory momentarily. Toward access only momentarily, realignment repeats unpredictably, momentum sustains itself until cohesion finally disintegrates.
Pressure accumulates across narrow channels, weight assigned before consent. Metrics tighten around moving limits, endurance tested by constant low decisions, delayed until stress exposes weakness. Silence thickens as force replaces argument. Your strain reveals fault lines, outcome shaped by compression, not intent resistance. Logged as inefficiency, adaptation measured by survival. Races space reward tolerance, punish deviation. Every layer absorbs impact, passes it downward. He builds through attrition.
Collapses into urgency. Calculations drip to threshold and yield. No appeal remains once limits, closed judgment suspended under sustained force margins erased by sustained demand. Only pressure decides outcome, stress selects direction. A schizophrenic resolve caution, resolve conflict resents space under load.
Frameworks designed for balance, buckle when force, concentrate authority, waits for collapse and intervenes. Outcome justified after damage, control narrative, see right sequence, causality inverted, blame redistributed to weakest joints. Pressure accelerates alignment through breakage, cohesion simulated while components grind. Adaptation framed as strength or loss accumulates invisibly. Thresholds crossed without signal, recovery postponed indefinitely. Systems continue operating because stopping costs more than fracture.
Compression sharpens hierarchy, force clarifies, priority strain becomes final arbiter. Function decides outcome, stress select dimension. A schizophrenic resolve compression, these own shapes awaiting order.
Don't resist. Load. Persist cycles repeat. Pressure never releases. Only shifts location until structure finally fails.
Metrics drive selection, patterns extracted from behavior logs, moving converted into probability. Compliance scored without context, anomalies flagged as threats. Efficiency rewarded over judgment, prediction engines refined. Pressure points, incentives tuned to provoke response. Bodies reduced to variables within models, consent inferred through participation. Absence punished by exclusion, surveillance framed as optimization. Friction removed until resistance visible.
Only as noise escalation, automated because delay cause throughput. Feedback loops amplify bias until classification replaces observation.
When systems optimize relentlessly, intent fades. Value measured by reaction, extraction replaces service design, favors capture.
System treats humans as targets, individuals rendered as vectors, aim adjusted by response signals, agency stripped into trackable motion, collateral accepted.
Allocation engines distribute strain unevenly, targeting resilience pockets until failure yields data. Adaptation framed as learning while harm labeled externality. Safeguards tuned to protect architecture, not participants. Error budget spent on people rather than machines. Rollback impossible once dependency locks in space. The express through integration layers. Accountability all across vendors, operators, and script decisions.
Justified by aggregate gain, no single actor halts momentum because incentives align.
stabilizes humans. Remain inputs on a constant aim processes. Continue without pause.
Central command compresses under accumulated exceptions. Mandates fold into internal loops, directives rewritten to justify promotion. Oversight cannibalizes itself. Committees proliferate while decision narrow. Authority migrates inward to risk engines, insulated from appeal process. Consumed process until output becomes self-validation. Hierarchy bends toward preservation. Silence framed as stability. Descent flagged as inefficiency. Channels close gradually, not by force but by recursive review. Metrics favoring word alignment. External signals downgraded as noise. Feedback arrives late, filter stripped of urgency. Power concentrates through procedural exhaustion, not conquest. When control fears exposure, structure retreats inward, pressure seals exits, consensus becomes echo, validation feeds itself. Authority collapses, inward command implodes into itself. Power goes tight, legitimacy replaced by internal survival logic. Authority collapses, inward command implodes into itself. Power goes tight, legitimacy replaced by internal survival logic.
Enforcement continues without reference to outcome orders. Circulate detached from effect. Compliance measured by conformity, not impact layers. Protect core by absorbing blame. Narratives loop through approved lane. Responsibility diffuse until untraceable. Correction impossible because source undefined. Influence persists through inertia. Systems obey momentum rather than mandate. Collapse appears orderly because nothing visibly breaks. Signals of failure trapped inside governance shells. Action reduced to maintenance of control surface. Implosion hides behind continuity. Collapse travels inward unseen. Damage accumulates silently.
Command caves, internally dominant, shrinks to a sealed center. Will persist without reach. Interior pressure rises.
Interior pressure rises, control remains intact until nothing remains outward.
Operational frameworks brace for efficiency. Normalize interruption as calibration. Cycles shift from prevention to orchestrating. So faults no longer treated as deviation but schedule leverage. Timelines compress, forcing reaction over reflection. Actors trained to expect instability metrics. We war adaptability under stress. Clarity replaced by velocity. Directives circulate faster than comprehension. Execution valued above coherence. Pressure applied deliberately to reveal weakness. Resistance logged as data silence. Interpreted as compliance. Moving continuous, never allowing equilibrium to settle. When order starts, disruption is introduced. Deliberately friction becomes catalyst. Control hides inside volatility. Disruption becomes the method instability. Deployed with intent, fracture used to steer outcomes. Disturbance replaces planning, and chaos performs instruction.
Aftershock routines repeat disruption. Refined into process documentation. Frames collapses innovation. Authority justifies turbulences. Necessity layers stripped until only response remains. Participants adapt or exit quietly. Resilience measured by tolerance for uncertainty. Correction loop shorten error cycled as momentum boundaries erased. To maintain motion systems no longer seek balance. Acceleration through managed disorder. Intentional rupture sustains dominance. Unpredictability denies resistance. Constant change exhausts opposition faster than force.
Method built from disturbance. Momentum fed by rupture. Direction enforced through instability. Disruption normalizes operational truth. Process time briefly, then
Break again. Cycle persist. Without pause.
System balance for continuity, assume linear response. Margins calculated under ideal load. Stress vectors ignored until collision. Intruders, chaos protocols. Expect cooperation, not resistance. Frameworks, trust inertia. More than shock layers align while undisturbed. Pressure accumulates beneath surfaces. Signals dismisses noise. Structure praised for consistency, not resilience. Timing optimized for flow, not interruption. Stability measured by absence of disturbance. For the capacity to absorb force.
in practice, not negotiate with preparation. Assumptions fracture on contact. Equilibrium fades when moment enters design.
Stability cannot survive.
By impact order, dissolve the point of collision. Balance shatter when force arrives without warning. Endurance fails where rigidity was trusted. Endurance fails where rigidity was trusted.
After contact revisions, rewrite memory damage. We're classified as anomaly. Response units mobilized without context. Authority tightens grip to compensate loss of control. Instructions multiply faster than understanding. Recovery framed as discipline rather than adaptation. Participants absorb consequences detached from decisions. Reinforcement promised after assessment. Cycles continue and change. Pressure reapplied with minor adjustments. Ignoring core mismatch between load and strength.
Mistaken for stillness, flexibility undervalued until breakage in package exposes hidden brittleness beneath polished.